Welcome everyone to another episode of the PMA podcast. Landon Blackwell here, of course, with managing editor Ben Blaschke. Ben, it's been an interesting couple of weeks to say the least.
It has, Landon. You and I were busy planning ahead for various live reporting gigs and attending in Queensland and Sydney and various places, and suddenly everything got cancelled. So here we are. You've just come out of lockdown in Melbourne. I'm still in lockdown in Sydney for a while, and our lockdown has been extended for 4 weeks. And I mean, that takes up, we're coming up to a couple of months now in Sydney of lockdown with no end in sight. So unfortunately, that's the world we live in at the moment.
It certainly is. And also a couple of months essentially without poker across the Eastern Seaboard. But we're very fortunate that we actually have two major events running in both Western Australia and South Australia, which brings us into essentially what is a double-header episode today. Brooke Seidel joining us all the way from Western Australia on behalf of Shark Poker. Brooke, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, Brooke, before we go any further, I have to ask, with a last name like Seidel, is there any relation to the great man himself?
Yeah, he's my uncle.
Oh, no. I knew it.
No, I'm just kidding. No.
You'd like to have his success, though, of course, one day.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes I tell people, yeah, I know him. We're related, but no, unfortunately, we're not.
I had to ask the question, of course. Now, Brooke, let's get a little bit of insight into Shark Poker. I understand that you guys have been around for quite some time, and in the last couple of years or so, you've actually been making quite a splash within some of the major events throughout the Eastern Seaboard. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
So we started in 2017 in January, and it was founded by Isaac and Ty. And we started with one game in Vic Park, and I remember I was a player on the night, and we came down and supported this brand new poker league that was coming out. And I remember being there, and there was hundreds of people in the room, and it's fantastic that the whole poker community sort of came together to support this brand new poker league. And 12 months later, Steve Burgess joined, and he founded Shark Poker North. And since then, the company has just grown significantly, and we've got now almost 30 dealers that are at Shark, and we're across 12 different venues on a weekly basis. So we're about to launch our new winter series, which is starting on the 7th of August, which will be just over 2 weeks of tournaments. So it's really exciting that we've come from, one venue to now so many.
Absolutely. Now, we will touch on the upcoming Winter Championship Series in just a moment, but I'd like to get to know a little bit more about yourself there, Brooke. I understand that you've been involved in the poker industry for some time. Is that right?
Yeah, so I've been playing probably for about 16 years or so, and I've been involved in more dealing in the last, I would say, 10 years. And more recently, I've been at Shark for 3.5 years now, and started as a dealer and now tournament directing and running majority of the games there. So yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. I love poker. I'm a poker player at heart. So it's great to have a job where you do what you love.
So Brooke, I mean, obviously as a player and involved as you are now, you sort of seen both sides of the felt. But it seems to me, and also my recent experiences, I know there was a strong contingent from Western Australia up at the WPT Deep Stacks recently. But it seems like there is a pretty solid poker community over in the West there, and pretty strong demand for poker.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of players that request us to run games where we can have bigger tournaments. So we've just sent players across to the WPT recently, and we've done Aussie Millions. It's good. There's a lot of players that want bigger buy-ins and bigger tournaments. As a poker player, I would love to get over to the Eastern States because they've got lots and lots of bigger buy-ins, and it's different, isn't it?
Getting back to talking more about the Western Australian poker community, I know that there are quite a number of prominent players that have come out of the scene there in the last 10 years or so. A couple of big names that come to mind, of course, two-time Western Classic main event champion Dale Marsland, and one of the other major poker stalwarts as well, Vesko Samucic, both great players in their own right. But there's also quite a number of up-and-coming players who have made their mark on the poker scene in the Eastern States. One of them is Hayley Chiplin.
Oh yeah, she's a good friend of mine. She's a
Yep.
fantastic player. She final tables quite often, and yeah, I think she's a great player. And I think for a woman as well, it's nice to see a female beating all these guys all the time. It's fantastic. We want to see, because we're such a small minority, you know, within the poker community, the women. So it's great to see that she's killing it.
Also wanted to talk about Travis Endersby as well. I know that he's certainly making a name for himself within the last couple of years as well.
Oh, he's a fantastic player. He's won, I think, you know, close to $500,000 in tournament earnings, and he's a regular with us as well. Also, Laurie Gibson, if you've not heard of him, he actually made a big splash in the World Series of Poker main event 2012, and he came, I think, 83rd and cashed for $73,000, and that's US dollars. And I see him quite often. Actually, I was chatting to him last night at a poker game, and He's doing well. He's really well.
Brooke, as Lando said before, the Winter Championships coming up. Can you give us a bit of an insight into, you know, what to expect? You know, where this sort of series sits on the annual calendar, and sort of key events and things to look out for during the series.
Yep. So we start on the 7th of August, and we are doing some satellites leading up to the start of that. So we are launching a brand new venue as well. So that will be event 1. And then we'll have our high roller, and then we've got the first week is just basically lead up games to our main event. So we're doing freeze outs, win the button tournament, PLO, we've got big blind ante, mix max, terminators. So we've got a whole range of really great events that, you know, players can jump into. We've got teams events, like really, really exciting games. And then the second week, we've got our repercharge for our main event. So we've got the main event day 1 split into 4 parts. So we'll have a bigger license for that. So a really good tournament. We can make it structured well. And then our final event is on the 23rd of August, and we're guaranteeing $20,000 for that tournament.
One thing that strikes me is that as opposed to a lot of the major events that we do see along the eastern states, you've got your series spread across multiple venues. And I understand that's in relation to how poker is regulated in Western Australia. Is that right?
Yeah. So we're regulated from the racing and gaming. So we can only have basically a 6-hour permit per venue per week.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we do it to give our players a longer tournament play, we do back-to-back on one particular day. So on a Sunday afternoon, for example, we start our permit at 12 o'clock, and that runs through till 6 p.m. We have a dinner break, and then the players head over to the second venue where we start the permit from 6 p.m. till midnight. With the regulations, because we are 6 hours, you know, we have to give the players the best structure that we can within that time frame. So it is tough sometimes, but we do what we can.
I could imagine that it would probably present a few logistical challenges in terms of having to move players and equipment from one venue to another.
Yeah, we do. So we have 2 setups. So the first setup group will start the first game, and then the players bag up their chips at the end of the first venue, and then we transport them while we're setting up the second game. So logistically, like, it's a bit tricky, but we make it work because we want to give our players like the best experience we can.
I've just got this picture in my head of players all bagging and tagging their chips, and then an armor guard van pulls up. And then you've got security coming through, escorting the tournament director.
That's exactly how it is.
No, it's interesting because I can actually see the benefit there in terms of being able to share a major event like this across multiple venues. You're actively promoting not only yourselves with Shark Poker and Shark Entertainment, but also you've got the opportunity to share potentially the revenue that's been generated through not only poker, but also through food and beverage and other gaming spend as well. And I dare say that geographically, these venues will be quite close. So obviously you're wanting to minimize travel as much as possible.
Sure. Yeah. We couldn't have a tournament, you know, an hour apart from one venue to the other. So we have to think about, you know, where the venues are going to be, and timeframes for players. Otherwise, it just wouldn't work.
Has that been challenging too, Brooke? Finding venues, you know, obviously finding not one venue can be hard enough to find, but you got to find 2 that work together in that way as well.
Yeah, and the right starting times.
Yeah, exactly. But also in terms of, you know, have the venues been good to deal with and understanding in terms of those strict regulations you need to follow?
Yeah, they have been really good. So we're trying to help them as well, like bring in players, and they help us by hosting the game for us so that we can use their facilities. But it's, with the regulations, we do try to help out the charities as well. So not only are we providing poker players with a great tournament, we're giving dealers jobs that they can earn income, and we're also helping the venues and the charities with hosting these great tournaments.
So, Brooke, I understand that that cash games and tournaments also need to be fully dealt. Is that right?
That's correct. So the tournaments, they're dealt with our dealers. So you need to be licensed. All our staff are licensed. And especially for the cash games, because we do take rake and commission off the table. So you must be licensed in order to do that.
That's obviously great for the players to have a fully dealt game, though. I mean, I'm sure the players absolutely love that.
Yeah, we do run tournaments that are self-dealt as well. But 95% of all our tournaments are dealer dealt.
One of the really unique, I guess, regulations that I've seen is that the guarantees you can't go past the guarantee. Is that right? How does that work exactly?
So on a nightly basis, we post up guarantees. So regular games, anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000, up to upwards of $5,000 to $10,000 to $20,000. So they can be exceeded up to a point of $50,000. So no more than $50,000 is what we can give away on one particular game.
Okay, so can you just explain it a bit more? So that you can do a maximum guarantee of 50,000, is that right? Or you can exceed a guarantee by a certain amount?
So on a night that we run a tournament, let's say we're promoting it and we say we're going to guarantee $1,000 in our prize pool. So that is our minimum of what we will guarantee. So if we don't make that guarantee, then Shark will pay the overlay. So then that can be exceeded up to a point of $50,000.
But if you have a guarantee of $50,000 in a large event, for example, does that mean you cannot exceed that particular?
Yeah, well, we can't exceed 50,000. Okay. That's the regulation from the Gaming Commission. We cannot exceed total prize pool of $50,000 for any one tournament.
Now, of course, we talk about all these regulations that are in place with Western Australia, and I understand that the WA Racing Gaming and Liquor Commission will be looking to review these regulations early next year. Would you think it would benefit the WA poker community in being able to make some changes to the industry to bring it in line with what's happening in the eastern states, so we could start seeing some of these big tours coming back to WA? I mean, the last time we saw something of that nature over in WA was years and years ago when we had the ANZPT at Crown Perth, or formerly Burswood. But I would hope that the WA regulators would be able to consider the possibility of changing these regulations to open up the market a little bit more, increase some of these limits that are already in place, and in turn be able to drive that poker market from the other side of the country and drive that tourism into WA. I think that would be beneficial to all. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, we'd love to host major events and have all the players from the eastern states to come over to WA. And, it would be fantastic for poker community of Perth. And yeah, I think it would be fantastic, great tourism, and show the rest of Australia what we've got over here in Perth, and show off all our amazing poker players.
Absolutely. And of course, you've touched on tourism. I've been over to Perth a few times myself over the years, and it is, honest to goodness, one of my most favorite places on the planet. It's just gorgeous. I mean, you've got the Swan River, you've got Kings Park, you've got down south to Fremantle and beyond. It's just fantastic. Tell us, if for someone that hasn't traveled to WA before, what are some of the key tourist destinations there?
WA is huge. Like, it would take you weeks to travel throughout the entire state. You've got Broome, which is the top of WA. We've got amazing beaches down south, Esperance. But I love Perth. The weather's fantastic. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And we're not in lockdown.
Well, certainly plenty happening in Western Australia at the moment, as you can see with the Winter Festival coming up, and also plenty coming up in South Australia as well. So time now to have a chat to the good boys from the Southern Poker Tour.
but our focus now turns to Harndorf in South Australia. Of course, the Havoc in the Hills going ahead as scheduled. Exciting news coming out from the boys there at the Southern Poker Tour. We are joined by Mick Sparrow and Matt Elston. Guys, welcome to the show.
Lando, how are you, mate?
Of course, Southern Poker Tour, for those you don't know, is probably one of the biggest success stories coming out of the last 18 months during this whole COVID scenario. You guys have been making great inroads throughout regional South Australia with your new poker product. Tell us more about the Southern Poker Tour and how it came about.
Yeah, just sort of through COVID times, mate. There was three of us in the Riverland that were sort of having a bit of a chat about it, and we got to know Matty a bit more as well. And Matty can probably delve into a bit more about his history, but his plan was to run a big series in the Barossa, and we sort of just put our heads together and came up with a plan to run a big series in the Riverland initially, and then Barossa. And we didn't really have any huge plans apart from those two series, but on the back of the success of those two, we've decided to continue on with it and just run with it. So
I guess it was born just for the fact, like after I had kids and you don't have time to go play the local pub games, but still sort of yearned for that experience of playing down at state finals and things like that. There's just that try to bring that opportunity to players in those regional areas that don't get to go down to Adelaide for those big matchroom series and things like that, or when the ANZPT used to come through. I think there was just kind of like filling that gap a little bit with something that we could bring to these areas. So, sort of got together in the middle of it was just when COVID restrictions were kind of easing last year. I made a trip up to Barmer and ended up at the local service station drinking coffees till about 1 a.m, finishing off our meeting. And, from there we sort of just winged it a bit and it's all come together. So it's been a good ride so far. The day I posted it up on the Saturday night on Facebook, and then I had a phone call from Ivy Rain from Mount Gambier, who we all know around poker circles in SA, and he offered if I needed any tables, chairs, any help. I chatted to him for about an hour. I've never met the guy in my life, and then just through that, when we ran our first Riverland series, there was about 15 to 20 Mount Gambier guys who came to it, and they've been to every one of our events since. So just little sort of opportunities along the way have helped sort of build. And, the Riverland guys have relationships with people up in like Mildura, Sunraysia area. So, we've had support from Dean Parker, who runs the Golly Folly and the Edge Hotel games up there. All the little connections we've just built on. So,
I could see that there's actually such a strong network starting to build within, throughout the Riverland regions, and also leading into regional Victoria as well, sort of in that Albury, Wodonga, Mildura, Swan Hill region. Tell us, is there any plans for the Southern Poker Tour perhaps move into Victoria sometime in the future?
Definitely. It has been discussed quite a bit recently. We obviously have to look. Each state has different rules and regulations around running tournaments. So, we've been discussing not only Victoria, but also down in Tasmania. We're looking to build some sort of partnership and work in conjunction with Bullets Poker League down there, who run quite a few venues across Tasmania, and they're just starting to run games in Hobart in recent months. So, their numbers, slowly building at the venues that they're starting at.
So, guys, obviously you've got the brilliantly named Havoc in the Hills coming up in the Adelaide Hills out there in Harndorf, favourite place of mine to go wine tasting. Recently, we saw the APLPT just get through their series before the COVID lockdown. Obviously, South Australia's come out of that now, and you recently announced that you're going ahead with the Havoc in the Hills series. But can you tell us a bit about any changes you've had to make to the schedule and what we can expect from that series coming up?
We've had to make a couple of small changes, not too dramatic. We took out Win the Button out of the schedule just simply because of the caps on numbers that we can hold at the venue. The venue itself is actually a wonderful venue. It can hold up to 1,000 people without any restrictions, but obviously at the moment we're down to 25%. So we do have caps on games, and unfortunately we had to take the win the button game out. But the only other small changes, we've brought the high roller forward from a 3 o'clock start to a 2 o'clock start now. That's just so we could add a couple more levels in there to make that event itself better for the players. So, all in all, everything else stays the same, apart from just having a few caps on the events. But I think we've sold plenty of tickets so far online, so I think the series is still going to be very good. So
now, one of the things I've noticed with the Southern Poker Tour is your organisation's ability to work so cohesively with local business in order to really drive the tourism into these regional areas. It's unlike anything that we've seen before. It's certainly very unique within the poker industry, but also at the same time, I believe it's still crucial to really securing the long-term popularity of the game. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think it works both ways, like bringing such an event to a small area or, like a region, say like the Barossa, for example. It gives, even though it is a well-known area, it gives new wineries and things like that exposure. Because people are always looking for something to do outside of the events. When they get knocked out, they want to go off some steam, so they might want to go, visit a few local wineries or eateries or whatever. So.
Yeah, we do a lot of hard work getting around to the local communities. We always get in touch with the local newspapers as well. We're not Southern Poker Tour was not made to just go out there and make a lot of money for ourselves. We are doing it for the community. We started during COVID. We're still in COVID now, so we're about generating support to the regional areas, and we make sure we engage with as many local businesses as we can, and make sure that everyone sort of gets out there. I've had a couple of messages today asking if the Riverland series is going ahead again, because players just love getting away to different areas. They want to support the regional areas, and they just like getting away, and that's why we try and start the games as late as possible, so people have the mornings to themselves to see those areas as well. So,
one of the other things I absolutely love about the Southern Poker Tour is that you very much think outside the box when it comes to your marketing and promotion of events. Like, we don't just have, say, for example, Southern Poker Tour Adelaide or Southern Poker Tour Melbourne or Tasmania or whatever it is. You really go above and beyond to really make each event special. Tell me, what's the inspiration behind coming up with such amazing titles like Havoc in the Hills or Face Off in the Fluoro or Tanunda Thunder, which was my absolute favorite, not just because I got to go to that event, but also it's just an amazing title.
Yeah, and funny with the Tanunda Thunder, we were worried it was going to be a heat wave as it was early February, and the Barossa put on its finest winter weather for the 3 days. Stormy, thunder, so it was very fitting. But no, we just wanted to create, like we've said, about a different experience with going away to somewhere, some unique kind of places that you would never get to play poker outside of that city kind of backdrop.
Yeah, obviously the Tanunda Thunder was the first series that Matty was going to run before we all sort of got together. So the naming side of things really came into effect there. So essentially our first series was the Riverland Rumble before Tanunda Thunder, but because we had the Riverland Rumble and then the Tanunda Thunder, we sort of just wanted to keep that theme going because it is different, we do go to regional areas, Havoc in the Hills. I think the key part for us as well is, apart from the Tanunda series, we try to target the whole region rather than just a single town. So, we cover the whole Riverland region with the Riverland Rumble and so on. So, it's just another little thing that is a point of difference for us, and it makes it really good for Matty to do marketing around as well. Our flyers are different every time. It's a different theme. So,
And of course, through all the events that you've run, you've also started to really build up this amazing core group of players, and who have in turn all gone on to do bigger and better things. In fact, we actually did start to see a lot of these South Australian legends really rise to prominence on the national stage at the APL PT series just gone. So, we're talking guys like Matty Guillaume, Cole Burt, just to name a few. Like there's so many incredible personalities and great players just within South Australia alone. So looking back at everything that you've been able to achieve so far and everything that you've got coming up and looking forward to, it must fill you with such pride to see, the talent just coming through. It must be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I reckon a good example of that is Jordan Wolfart. I remember talking to him after our Barossa series, and he commented that was his first cash. And then only a month or so ago at the recent Matchroom main event, he won it. So I think it was around, correct me if I'm wrong, around $30,000, $35,000 first prize or something. Yeah, very decent score. So, and then I caught up with him at the recent APL PT down at Sky City, and shook his hand, and was like, I remember that conversation with you at Barossa, mate. You're already cracking the big time. So just little things like that is, so good to see new players come in and, get their experience at these tournaments and give them confidence to go down and play for higher buy-ins or, other tournaments interstate. Because it can be a pretty daunting thing for players to, just go up to somewhere like APT where they've never had that experience around local.
And I think you're right there as well, Matty. Is a lot of players that come to our series, and we get a lot of new players to every single one of our series so far and going forward. And a lot of these players have only ever played pub poker, and that I think is where our point of difference is as well. Is we're sort of that meet between the sandwich of the pub poker and the matchrooms and the stacks who only have the big buy-in series. We're sort of that meat in the sandwich. So they get an opportunity to play poker in bigger fields and grow their confidence. And once they've got their confidence, they do go and play those bigger buy-in series. And Jordan's just a perfect example of that one. Cole Burt, we love Cole, and we couldn't have been happier to see him take out our first super high roller event. The first two series he came with a lot of energy and wanted to take some trophies home and didn't cash in anything in the first two series. And I just said to him, just keep chipping away, mate. Your time will come. And he took out the first event at the last series and took home 16K. So
before we do wrap things up, well, we were talking about big name players. So we've got all these rising stars coming through South Australia, but now leading into the Havoc in the Hills, we've got some big names that are about to descend upon Harndorf there. Can you tell us more about that? Yeah,
definitely. It's been a long time coming. We're at that crossroad now where we've got a lot of the South Australian market, and we wanted to go out there and get some big fish. I've played a lot of APT events in the past and played on the same table in grind events and so on with the likes of Dan O'Shea and Mike Maddox. So we first got in contact with Dan O'Shea, and he's a top bloke. He's just a poker nut and is happy to help out any poker business wherever he can. So he jumped on board with us straight away to support us, and from there, he got Mike on board, and then Mike got someone else on board. I can't remember the name of the guy, but
Sam Adams.
Sam Adams. How can you forget Sam Adams?
Sam Adams as well. Yeah. Brenton Buttigieg. Yeah, we've got some big names coming, and since we've announced those names, our Facebook has gone off tap, mate. We've got a lot more likes from people based in Queensland now. We're growing our connections all across the country. So watch out for us in the next 12 months because we're only growing. We're growing a lot quicker. So yeah.
Well, gents, it has been an incredible ride over these last 18 months for you, and I, for one, certainly am very much looking forward to seeing what you guys have in store. It's been an absolute delight having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Lando.
Thanks, Lando. Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
From all of us here at Poker Media Australia, I'm Leonard Blackwell. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.